Just put this class together, and I think it really kind of breaks down what it is that we do for people. You're gonna have more questions, right? It's not gonna answer everything, but the purpose of you coming today, and Aaron was someone, Brandon, I sat with Aaron earlier this week, was just for you to come and kind of learn kind of who we are, what we're doing. And people say, well, what is this, man? Like, there's a lot. But in the short amount of time, we've kind of summarized it by priorities. You know, so those of you that are seeing this for the first time, I think it's important that you kind of understand what it is that Difference Financial we specialize in. So it's our top 3 priorities. Start with number 3 is becoming a professional in financial services and insurance industry is our forte here. We want people to become very strong at being able to go out there and helping people from all walks of life to be able to meet people where they're at, whether it's a business owner, a school teacher, a family, wherever you're at, whether they can save $25 a month or $250,000 a month, you're going to say, I can help you. It's a really profound thing to be able to do, you know, and have that confidence, right, and know things that most people don't know, you know, and most people, even in the traditional industry, even financial advisors that have been doing this a long time, don't even know everything. And there's a lot of evolution happening right now, which is we're really fortunate to really be teaching this as a craft, right? So it's a big part of what we'll learn here. You'll learn a little bit about that today. Number 2 is entrepreneurship as a lifestyle, which it's really what the whole goal of becoming an entrepreneur is. Well, I love asking, like Natalie, she used to work for corporate America, she's CPA, and she's got flexibility. She's like, this is the perfect time to start my own thing, which is very fortunate because there is never a perfect time to start a business, right? It's always going to be inconvenient, you know, and the whole thing about, you know, the whole thing about success, it's like success and convenience are like oil and water. They simply do not mix at all. You're going to be knocked out of balance. Just know that. You know, family time for me is not traditional what family time is for most people. You know, family time is people have dinner. You know, family time for me is between 5:30 and 7 in the morning. That's when we get together, we have breakfast, and while people are sleeping, I'm having family time because I work in the evening. You know, and so you have to kind of, you have to be creative and realize how you do time. And so for me, it's what is it about business that why we're here is because of this whole concept of this, what good is it to have money but no time, right? It's really, it makes no sense if you really think about it, because look, you can lose money but you can get money back. You know, so everything is impermanent, everything's always changing. And then what good is it to have a lot of time but you have no money, right? So to us the question is, how do I get time and money together? That's really why we're here. Right, that's the fundamental question of entrepreneurship. Like, why am I doing this? Because at some point you want to have time and money together. You know, at some point, and so you're gonna work to have something that you've never had. You're gonna have to do something that you've never done. It's the truth, you know, and that's really what it is. I don't want to wait till I'm 65 to start living a retired life. Right. I'm willing to work for 5 to 7 years and compress those 40 years of work from 25 to 65 and just like, right? So I can have that long-term benefit. And that's why people are here. So we teach people how to do that. But the number one thing that we teach here is identity. Because if you're going to experience these 2 things, it's really about your self-confidence, right? Because what it takes to win in anything is confidence. Right? You can know a lot about money, you can know a lot about things work, but if you lack self-worth, if you lack self-confidence, you're going to lose. You know, and that's a big epidemic out there of people have, right, that's where they struggle with identity. It's how they see themselves. You know, and we've all been beat up by life in here. You know, and that's the really fundamental question about identity, is not to go deep with you guys, it is a truth, is if people really knew the truth about me, would they still love me, right? If they knew all my faults, if they knew because that's how we're wired by society, to see more of our flaws than our strengths. And your whole reality is based on how you have a conversation with yourself of every moment, right? And if you were to look at a whole day's worth of how you speak to yourself in that conversation that you're always having between this and this, you know, if you really studied it and just put your whole conversation with yourself on paper for the whole day, you'd be like, wow, do I really talk to myself that way?
I look like a crazy person.
Right? You know, and it really does take you taking ownership of your life, saying, no, you are worth it, you're amazing, you're the man, you're the woman, you're worthy of success, you're worthy of being followed. You have to start shifting the conversation. You know, and when people speak, it's nothing more a reflection of the conversation that they're having with them. And that's where we have to really take a whole approach to identity, you know, and which is the number one thing that we do here. Right? Number one thing. Because change your conversation, change your life. It's the truth, right? You know, and sometimes life has to give you what you don't want in order for you to put back in focus what you do want. And I think business is the greatest teacher of that. You know, I have found nothing, right? To me, I'm speaking for myself, that has tested me spiritually like entrepreneurship has. Right? You know, and that's for me. You know, I know some people are faith-based and you do things like that, but for me it's been my way of experiencing spirituality at the highest level. Like, wow. Yeah. Right? How can I create the life? Because think about an entrepreneur, you create something out of absolutely nothing. Right? When you're an entrepreneur, nobody pays you. You are the ones that are creating money out of thin air. How do you do that? Your ideas, your mind, your actions, right? You know, once I see an entrepreneur in action, I knew that they have thought about that prior to taking that action. Right? And so that's a big part of what we do here. You know, so it's a big part of what we teach a lot. And if that kind of culture, that kind of knowledge base interests you, then I think you're at the right place. Right? We're not looking for everybody here. This is not come on. Business is not for everybody. You kind of have to be somewhat of a masochist, right? You kind of have to be somewhat sadistic in a sense, a little bit crazy. If you like comfort, don't be an entrepreneur. I'll tell you right now. But the truth of that statement is, what have you learned by being comfortable? Right? And that's why a lot of you have left your jobs, because your job becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. What am I going to do tomorrow? The same thing I did yesterday, in the last month, in the last 5 years, right? And it's just like, yeah, my needs are being met. I'm paying my bills. I have a little bit of savings in the bank. You know, I'm comfortable. But why are you wanting to leave? Because you're not fulfilled, right? There's, you know, success without fulfillment is failure. You know, and so to me, it's like, can I do it? Can I go out there and create something? And I've shown up this morning. I do this every Saturday. I show up here early, nobody's here, and I'm setting up, and I'm like, man, I do this every Saturday. But why do I do it? Is because to me, I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to even speak to you, that it gives you an idea of something that can possibly transform your life. And if I'm not giving, I don't feel on purpose. You know, that's just me. And, you know, that's the beauty of life, is find something that you truly value and give it away. And that's really what we're here for. You know, at the end of the day, it's, yeah, we all want financial security and money, but at the end of the day, you want purpose, like what Gail was talking about. You want fulfillment. We want to teach our kids, if you have children, a better way of living, right? And I feel that money is very fundamental to that. And what you're going to learn today is a lot of strategy. But I'm going to show you today, most people don't know. This stuff has been around a long time, it's just people are not informed, right? And we call it the ABCs of money. And it's I'm excited about sharing this. Write this down, it's called the cash flow quadrant. And it kind of epitomizes everything that we're doing here. So the cash flow quadrant is 4 ways in society to make money. And you just have to understand this, because everybody falls, I don't care what you do, everybody, and I mean everybody that you see in society falls under one of these 4 categories. Most people are in the E quadrant, which is employee. The employee is an active income. You work hard, you don't get security, there's no time, right? It's, who's ever felt like that guy?
Yeah.
Right?
A hamster wheel.
You know, and the thing about active income is we're wired by society from a young age, and this country is really good at that, because we learn from a young age, just go to school to get a great education. The truth about our current education system is deeply flawed when you really look at its core purpose. right? And I'm all about education, all about it. I value education. To me now in 2018, I just really value the right education. My point is this, is school teachers go to school, get a good education, go to college, get some higher education, get a piece of paper that tells you that you're qualified to go get a good what?
Job.
To get work for the entrepreneur, right? And if you study most entrepreneurs that own businesses, you'll notice that they do not have education, a lot of them, right? A lot of immigrants come to this country and they focus more on capitalism and how money works versus going, their kids go through the system because that's American, right? America is to, we look at each other based on our credentials of education. Now, people disagree with that because, well, that's what I went through. But nowadays, because of technology, how easy is it to access information, right? It's really, it's really simple. There's a term called autodidact. You ever heard of that? An autodidact is someone that is self-taught, right? I sat with a young kid, 23, who was like, yeah, man, I do options trading stocks. And I'm like, man, dude, who taught you money in your family? He's like, nobody. Like, where'd you learn that? Took a class? YouTube videos, man. That is the new generation. People have that, like, think about it now. It's, Sarah now, she's like, Carla, you gotta start a podcast. I'm like, I don't know nothing about that. She's like, you gotta do this, you gotta do it. Because nowadays who listens to podcasts in here?
I do.
How much does it cost to listen to podcasts?
It's free.
Free.
Right.
Who listens to YouTube videos on any type of content? What's it cost to listen to that?
Right.
Free. Right? See my point, right? This is why you're starting to see commercials or free tuition now, right? It's this and that because college is losing a lot of business. Why? Because they no longer are the holders of the information. So why am I paying you $600 a unit when I can go learn this myself on my own time, at my own pace, at my own speed?
For free.
For free. Oh, the game is changing, right? Hence, this is changing. Now, Google, Apple, these big corporations don't require a college degree anymore for them to hire, right? So the game is shifting, right? So nowadays, it's not about what college really had as esteem. Oh, you graduated from that school? Wow. Because of the prestige of the information that school taught. But nowadays, it's like, well, it's not 20 years ago, the person that had that information had a superior advantage. That's no longer the case. Nowadays, we all have access to the information.
Yeah.
So the competitive edge on us and everybody else is not about, oh, you know more than I do. It's who can execute the information. That's really what it comes down to. Can you execute the knowledge? Right? Because there's like, oh, I know a lot. Well, how come you don't do it then? Right? So there's a difference between what you know and then what you do with what you know. Right? So what good is it to have, and that's what school pumps us with, is like, I have a piece of paper that tells me I'm very smart. But how come you get results as if you're so stupid? Right? If the paper says you're smart because you don't know how to execute. So school taught us how to learn and memorize, but did not teach us how to execute. Right? In entrepreneurship, if you want to feed yourself, you must execute. Right? And it's way more simple than in anything, right? So when you're an employee, you have a job, you trade time for money. Now, some people start to realize right away, like, okay, this is going to be a dead end. Because maybe you realize I can't pass over my job to my kids, no matter how great that job with benefits is, right? Because for the most people, this is a stark realization that people are having right now. As soon as you stop working, your income stops. That's the truth, right? As soon as you leave work that day, your income stops. Right? And so we need to realize this is limiting, but what doesn't stop? Everything else around us keeps getting more expensive. Right? So I'm like, okay, this is no longer working. So this paradigm is right now in a huge evolutionary state where it's starting to slow death. So people are like, okay, I got to do something else. So they move into this. Self-employed, I want to start my own business. Right? I want to start becoming a bookkeeper. I'm going to start doing real estate. I'm going to do, you know what, I like doing, hair. Maybe I'll do that on the side. Right? And it's cool. You work for yourself. There's a sense of pride and control and creation that like I have something. And if you're doing it just to make extra money, perfect. But if you're doing your side hustle to get free of it, be careful that you don't go from having a job to now just owning a job, right? And that's what could happen, right? Because if you're in a self-employed profession, if you're not currently sitting in front of a client, you're not making any money, right? Because so sometimes the business owns you more than you own the business. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's where people can get stuck too, right? So biggest ones are like doctors who have a lot of student loan debt for medical school. They have a private practice, but they are the business, right? You know, I'm here to see Dr. Salgado. Well, Dr. Salgado's on 2-week vacation. Well, I'm going to go somewhere else. That's the limiting aspect of that. And so this is how you have to realize that this is 95% of society. It's a small fraction where people have built wealth, right? So what we want to teach here is becoming a business owner. Well, I thought you're a business owner. Technically you are. But the difference between the S and the B quadrant is you own a system and people work for you. Right? Hence Jessica's like, I just hired my second employee. How much has that alleviated you, by the way?
Gosh, so much. I'm just kind of running the business instead of working the business as much as I.
Is the income still going to come?
Yeah.
That's called passive income.
Things are getting done.
Right?
Yeah.
That's called passive income, guys, right? It's easy work, it's stability. Now you have time. Now, whoa, I have time and money.
Plus she has 2 kids too.
Right? You see what I'm saying? Because that is, again, the fundamental question that if money was not an issue, how would you be spending your time? Something I ask myself is, if I didn't have to worry about money, what would I be doing today? Like, think about if you woke up and like, you could do whatever you want with who you want, how you want. Like, whoa, my mind has never even pondered those kind of choices before. Right? And so that's why we have to unlock your mind from the prison that it's been in these boxes. Because most people's choices are based on the paradigm that they currently see. And based on my world, my box says that I can have these choices. I can eat at Sizzler instead of Ruth's Chris, right? So I only focus on the choices that my paycheck gives me. And well, what if we were to unlock that and say there's a lot more, right? And this has nothing to do with, right, your intellect. It has nothing to do with, right, your degrees. Everyone has the freedom to choose this, right? And so it comes down to, again, mindset and belief. But this is where I feel right now. We will look back at this era, just like there was a gold rush era in our country, right, many years ago. This is the entrepreneurial era because of the internet, because of the way society is evolving. So this is an entrepreneurial gold rush. I have met more people move into business in the last 5 years than, me personally, than when I started in entrepreneurship in 2004. Right? It was still like, if you had a master's degree, that meant something. Well, right now, it is all about working for yourself. But people like, I can't go to San Diego State and teach me how to be a successful entrepreneur. They don't teach that. They teach you how to get an MBA to go manage an entrepreneur's books, right? But not how to run your own company. And well, how do you do that? You have to, entrepreneurship is not theoretical like in a classroom setting. This is a classroom setting, right? But this is not where you'll learn it. This is where you learn concepts, but then you must go out there and apply them. That's where you learn faster, right? So that's what we want to teach here. And you're going to own a system. Now, once you start earning passive income, you keep your lifestyle the same, then where you truly build wealth is now you start investing what you earn. Does that make sense? You become an investor. And one of the best investments still known to mankind is two of them, real estate and business. Business is the #1 asset class in my opinion. Why? Because why can't most people own real estate in this city?
It's expensive.
It's expensive, right? They don't have the capital for it. So what is the next best investment? Carl, I'm trying to get into real estate investment. My job is, I'm living income. Start a business, man. Yeah, but what does that cost? How the low startup costs now that exist in business? Like, for example, this industry, we pay, $600 to get a license, right? There's people here, we're making I paid $600 to get a license, and it's paid me over $500,000 in the last few years. That's a good return on investment, right? And something that's not difficult. But most people don't believe that, right? You know, it's like, I always question, I was like, $600 for a license. I was talking to a college kid, you know, I was going to master's. I was like, what did you pay for, you got 2 more classes, what did you pay for one unit of a 3-unit class? $650. I was like, does that guarantee you success? No, but I feel like I have to have it. Why? Because the paradigm of society says I should. It's fascinating to me. I'm like, right? You know, one of the greatest quotes, you know, you guys ever, Mark Twain was a really great writer, right? And he was a philosopher. And he says that whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. And that, you know, when I first heard that, it always left me thinking, like, if we're doing what everyone else is doing, what's really going on, right? So my point, entrepreneurship is, if everybody's zigging, you have to be zagging, right? It is not modern day thinking. It is not, matter of fact, the more skeptical people are of your actions is the sign that you're doing something that most people are not doing, right?
I can't even talk about it to most of my friends.
Yeah.
They won't listen to it.
So that's our point here, is you want to get on this side of the quadrant. So you got to learn about systems, you got to learn about investing. It's 5% of people, but it's 95% of our wealth is built. Does that make sense? That's what you're learning here, right? And it sounds really counterintuitive, because for many of you, like, this is just like, my mind is just like, it's hard for me to process, because you're fighting 35 or how many years of conditioning, right? And how deep is conditioning in the human species, right? I remember going to TJ as a kid. You ever been to circuses at TJ, by the way?
Yeah.
Those are a show, man, I'll tell you that, right? Right? But I remember, right, like, I remember the big elephants, they'd have these little skinny, like, rope that they could usually just run off. And I remember one time the skinny, like, the baby elephant had a big, thick chain, and it just kept pulling, right? And because it was trying to get away, right? You know, and I realized that at some point, all those big elephants used to be the baby elephant with a thick chain. At some point, that baby elephant's going to realize that it cannot move or leave. The mind has been wired, conditioned. So just take out the thick chain, put on a skinny one. To the elephant's mind, it doesn't matter if it's a thick chain or skinny one, I'm trapped. The human mind is no different. The human mind is no different whatsoever. Right? We have become conditioned, right? And sometimes we have to unlearn in order to relearn. You know, and I feel that's what our society has done for us. Does that make sense? So, we want to run systems here, right? And we said, well, what is the pathway to success? Is moving the B quadrant. We created a system. We saw other systems that have been really successful, right? Like these guys. Billions and billions served each day. This is a true thing, right? Is their food that good? No, but why do they do so well?
Their systems.
They have a system, right? And it's like, if you want to understand McDonald's, watch the movie The Founder. It's a great movie for an entrepreneur. What Ray Kroc did for them, right? Because it wasn't the McDonald's brothers that started this. It was Ray Kroc that went in and said, I see it. You guys need to make a franchise. You guys need to put a system on this. And they're like, nah, that's too much work for us. We just want to do something small, mom and pop shop. He took that idea and eventually, you know, made it work for himself. But how to create massive duplication, right? So to us, we're in the duplication business. Because that's what I was telling Jessica. She was working so hard and she's very talented. But there's only 24 hours in a day, you know? And so I always tell Jessica, what if you had 10 Jessicas? She's like, oh my gosh. Right? Right? That's the biggest challenge for everybody. And that's where I see people stuck in the S quadrant. You will position yourself in the S quadrant if you're one of these people. And this is where ego gets involved. I was like, yeah, I want someone else to do it, but I got to do it because no one's going to do it as good as I'm going to do it. You just screwed yourself, man. Right? Because now you always physically have to be, if you're always the one doing it, guess what? Hey, we're going to the beach. You keep doing it. I'm going to go have fun at the beach. Right? That's where we end up hurting ourselves. You know, so how do I free myself this? No one's ever going to do it as good as you if you're someone that's methodical. But can you still succeed if someone's doing it even 50% as good as you? And the answer is yes, if you create systems around it, right? And that's what we want to teach you here, is run a system so the system can run your business, and we've already proven it, right? We have a system here. This is it. You know, the more I do this business, the more I realize how valuable this has been for us, right? So at the end of the day, you want lifestyle, right? Whatever that means for you. There's some people in this room that want to make just an extra $2,000 a month. There's some people in here that want to make $100,000 a month, right? Can you do that here? The answer is yes. It really just depends on you, right? So you got to be clear as to what that is, though. You have to start with the end in mind first, right? Be clear as to what that is. So once, hey, I want a house on the beach, I want to make $100,000 a month, I want to travel the world. Okay, great. It's great goals. So that's what you're clear on. So how much cash is it going to take for you to do that? How much money are you going to need to save? So you know how much sales are you going to need to make, right? How much passive income do you need? You got to be licensed. You got to get trained, which we do. So everyone in here is you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself, right? Everybody here. Nobody works for me, right? In this room. Everybody in here works with me. Okay, and I'm just a leader that's teaching it. We have an associate membership agreement. This is when we count people in, a little background check. We do the interview process, so people look at us, and then we say, okay, now I'm interested. Now we look at you, right? And we really want to determine if there's a fit. I'll start from number one here is, how do you get clients? Is the number one thing an entrepreneur must solve is, how do you get clients? We don't cold call here. We don't even go door knocking here. Everything is a relationship and referral business. Now, because of technology, everything we've done has always been offline. Now online is like kind of we're gradually moving into that space, because why not? It's free marketing to some degree. Even with some paid marketing, you're going to get even more traction. Go to a restaurant and just, while you're waiting for a table, just look around the restaurant and you'll see that almost 80% of that restaurant's on their phone, right? Everybody's on their phone, right? And so might as well see you on there, right? Because that's what we're going to be. So that's teaching us how to prospect, how to set appointments, how to present concepts that people want, and then how to follow up and then close that business is very vital, right? And those are things that we teach really well, right? Generating leads and converting them into business is a big part of every entrepreneur's, perspective, right? It doesn't matter how much you know, it's how much you execute. I've seen people make a lot of money with terrible products, right? Why is that? Because they know how to convert, they know how to sell. And our products are awesome, right? They're very good products, but if you don't have the sales mentality, I don't like sales, And I was like, well, what is it about sales you don't like? Because everybody's in sales. I don't care what you are, right? If you're a parent, you have to sell your children. If you're a child are really good at selling their parents, right? They know how to close you, right? And it's like, if you're married, you're in sales. You close somebody on a long-term deal. It's the truth, right? It's the truth, And so, to me, selling to me is, you have to believe in what you're doing. So this is our process, and we teach with this. And people say, I get it, Carlo, but each of these steps does require a certain level of identity and psychology. If you don't believe, because you can know all about this, but if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe in what you're doing, the products and services, you're not going to do it. But if you believe in yourself and you believe in the process, you're going to do fine, right? And that's really what we want to teach you. The rich don't work for money. This is so true, right? People think all rich people. And this is where I struggled my first years in entrepreneurship, because I wanted money, and this is very important. This is identity. I'm not a money-hungry person, I would always unconsciously judge people that would spend $250,000 on a car, right? I would see someone like, you paid $250,000 on that car? What an idiot. You know what I would have did with that money? I would have did this, I would have did that, I would have, I would judge, right? So that's what I would do, and I didn't even know that I was doing this, and then I was like, well, I'm trying to go get $250,000 a year. And I would self-sabotage, because unconsciously or unawarely, how could you become something that you resent? Right? That's a big, big identity thing, right? So I started saying, every time you see someone, like when the economy was tough and I started seeing people driving Bentleys and buying dream houses, I'm like, hey, good for that person, right? Anytime you see someone that is living a good life, bless that person, bless that family, right? Don't you want someone to do that for you, right? The last thing you want is to buy your dream car and someone's like, really, Aaron? You know what you could have done with that money? You know what I would have done with that money? I'm like, oh wow, it sounds like me, right? Because you can't become what you unconsciously hate. It's not going to happen. So I was over there trying to get money, but deep down in my core beliefs, I hated it. That had to change, right? And most people think that all the rich care about is money. They don't care about money, right? They don't work for money. They care about assets, right? So the rich buy assets. The poor only have expenses. The middle class buy liabilities, and they think that are assets. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. That's the truth, right? You can look at that in so many ways, but that is this fundamental truth. And we want to teach you how to buy assets here, right? What is an asset by definition then?
Something that puts money into your pocket.
Yes, right? That's something that puts money in your pocket, right? So that's what you're here for. As a business owner, it's like I am investing in my asset. When I get more money, I put it back into this business because nothing is going to feed me longer, better, stronger than my business. Now, once my business is producing enough cash flow, then I'm going to take it and buy more assets like real estate, right? So now my business is feeding me consistently. Now I have 2 rental properties, 3 rental properties, and those are feeding me. And the more that those assets, so when do you buy the toys? If you have to go physically do something, like I got to go sell something in order for me to make that $100,000 to buy that dream car, wrong. You're not free yet. Because you just become a liability yourself. You use your time as liability. Now when you're like, you know what, I took a month off and my business still produced $100,000 a month, my business bought the car, not me. See the difference?
Yeah.
That's when you do it, right? But most people are impatient in this society to do that, right? Because we want to look the part than be the part. And that's absolutely false, right? It's absolutely false. And that's the biggest thing in this business. You're going to have a lot of temptation because you're going to have 20,000 months and you want to go buy a brand new car because you're like, man, I want people to know that I'm successful because that's what everyone tells me it should be. But what you don't know about most people, the mirage of that, is most people are really broke, right? They drive a 750 Beamer, but it's leased, right? You know what I'm saying? There's no ownership. You know, we rent these things, but we don't own them because we want to look the part. I'd rather you be free, right? Because, even though it's just a lease and it's a tax write-off, you know, you could have invested that in more assets. Because that's what liabilities are, right? Something that takes money out of your pocket. You know, and so I want you you're going to keep it. Here's the secret. If you're living out $3,000 a month and you start making $5,000, keep on living out $3,000 a month. You start making $10,000 a month, keep living on $3,000 a month. Start making $20,000, keep living on $3,000 a month. Right?
Yeah.
It's really difficult, I gotta tell you, right? That's where I'm at. It's hard, right? I drive a 2011 Mazda, and I have a lot of temptation sometimes to go just go lease a car. But I was like, but that would be, you know, I wouldn't be practicing what I'm preaching, you know, and who am I trying to please? Am I trying to please other people, or am I really trying to make it? And this is the biggest temptation with ego and money, right? I want to be here because one day I want to be free. And what's more important, freedom or just having money, right, that makes you look like you're free but you're really not?
Freedom.
Freedom, man. You with me? It's very, very important, right? Again, this is identity, right? So assets, rental properties, businesses, stocks, bonds, CDs, things that we teach here, liabilities, car loans, mortgage, credit card debt, which is what's struggling with most people. Does that make sense? So we want to teach you here how to invest in assets. Now we get into strategy. And the strategy is this, right? This is probably, you should teach your kids if they're starting to understand multiplication and division. And that is the rule of 72. The rule of 72 is the most powerful concept of compound interest. And it's so simple, you're like, why did they teach me this? It was considered to be the greatest mathematical discovery of all time. And all it is if you take the number 72, because when a client shows you their 401k statement or their investment statements, and they're like, I don't know how to read this, because we don't know how to read interest rates in this country. Aaron, is this good? Like, every investment has a 1 and 5 and 10 year history. And I say, well, let's look at your 10 years. Over the last 10 years, your investment did 4%. What does that mean? 72 divided by 4 means 18. Okay. So if you're 29 and you have $10,000 and you're earning 4%, that means 18 years later the money doubles. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then 18 years later the money doubles again. So the question, even if you're 29, I can say, Aaron, it's done 4% in the last 10 years. I don't know what it's going to do the next 10 years. I'm just telling you what it's done. I don't know the future. I'm not a fortune teller. But if it keeps doing what it's doing, you're going to be about $40,000 when you're 65. Is that good for you? No, that's terrible. I can't retire at that. And maybe it's time to make a move. Does that make sense? Right? Now, each of these are all the same ages, same amount of money. Let's just say 12%. So 72 divided by 12 is 6. So instead of my money doubling every 18 years, my money doubles every 6 years. Look at the difference. That's dramatic, right? Now your bank is never going to offer you that. Credit card companies will charge you that.
More.
They'll charge you more than that, right? So the rule of 72 can work for you or against you. Why don't they teach financial literacy in school? My personal opinion, and I really believe this. I really, really believe this because the system is rigged and we don't want to disrupt a good thing. College is a business, guys. If we stop loaning money to college students, which I feel is criminal. I mean, to see a 22-year-old or 25-year-old with $100,000 of debt and not having a good job or no job, I was just like, really, America? Like, how does that make sense? How is that good for society, right? Student loan default will become a crisis in this country, you'll see. Just like the mortgage crisis was in 2008, student loan debt will be a big one. You know, same with credit card. What is the average credit card debt per household right now? 16 Gs. Credit card debt is very common here. You know, and so, because people don't know about these things, right? So,
But where do we get the 12%?
that's where you're here to learn, my friend. That's what we offer, okay? So, great question, right? So here's what we do, right? These are the 3 things that we specialize in here as a company. What is our valuation to society? Like, okay, Carlo, what do you guys do and why should anybody care? Because of these 3. We teach tax advantages here. We teach the tax king, right? There's 77,000 pages in the tax code. We want to teach it, right? Number 2 is principal protection, which is a valuable thing. What does that mean? That means we protect people's money here. So if the market goes up, people can make money here, but if the market crashes, they never lose money. What? How is that even possible? And if this is so good, why come everybody's not doing it? Because there's not 5,000 people in this company yet. That's why, right? And so that's really what our job is. And anybody in here that's counting Social Security, I think you're wrong for doing so. The government does not care about your future. The government cares about their future, right? You know, the government is not for you. If you haven't realized right now, you know, this whole, it's for the people, right? It's bullshit, excuse my language, you know? When people go into office, they have their agenda, right? This is what we're going to do. You know, think about, I look at the last 2 presidencies and what they run on, and then once they get into the office, what really happens, right? And I say, you know what? People say, well, what are you going to do if so-and-so gets in office? I'm still going to win. I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican, right? I'm still going to win because there's always going to be a loophole that you can play. And the thing is that these are the things that we need to learn. And I believe in people. There will be no more Social Security, then we give people a guaranteed lifetime income stream than what we do, right? That's a big part of what we do. We're bringing pensions back. Only 4% of companies in the entire country offer their employees pensions. What is the #1 retirement plan in America?
401k.
401k, which was never even designed, right? Watch the YouTube, it's a Time magazine documentary called The Truth About the 401k. It's very enlightening.
What's it called?
The Truth About the 401k. Just go to YouTube. Like, whoa, people don't know about that. As I'm sitting with more retirees lately, and they're like, I'm gonna cash out my 401k. Whoa, don't do that. Don't do that. Why not? It's my money. You think so? What haven't you paid on that 401k yet?
Taxes.
Taxes. You're gonna pay a lot of income tax. Someone pays $500,000, right? In income tax, you're looking at almost 300,000 that will go to Texas.
Jeez.
Crazy, right? But people don't know that, right? So we got to teach people about this. So what we want to teach here is tax advantages, okay? So taxation is potentially the most powerful challenge facing your money. So you earn it, they tax it, right? This is why as a W-2, we are the most heavily taxed population in the world, by the way. Because when you're a W-2 employee, who gets the money first, you or the government?
Government.
Government does, right? They tax your paycheck. Okay? State, federal, FICA, Social Security, Medicare, right? Gone. Right? And when that money comes out of your paycheck, this is why we have, well, I don't get this whole Social Security thing. It's very simple supply and demand. What is the demand for Social Security right now? Very high. Why? Because all of the baby boomers are retiring. They are the majority population. There's 100 million of those who are no longer going to be working. They're going to be depending on the system. But in order for them to depend on the system, there must be some people paying into the system. That's us, through your taxes. So when you see on your paycheck that says FICO $253, just know that money when the next month is going to somebody's mailbox or direct deposit or whatever you want to call it, right? It's the truth. But what happens when there's more demand than supply? We have social insecurity. Does that make sense? So it's been something, a system that's flawed. When you spend it, they tax it. What's the sales tax here? 8, depending on the county, or depending on, like you're looking at 8, sometimes 9%, but 8% is pretty typical. So if I buy it for $1, and say, oh, this is $1. When I go to the register, it's $1.08, right? That's where the city also gets tax money. When you save it, here's where many people don't know. They're going to get taxed, and where you save it is very important. And when you die, they also tax you. It's called estate tax, right? So there's only 3 areas, right? So taxable, savings, so these little bubbles, right, we shaded area tax, savings accounts, money markets, mutual funds, CDs. As you put money into these vehicles and they grow, they tax you at every level, right? These are called capital gains taxes. Now, most people are here in tax deferred, which is 401ks, traditional IRAs, is it comes out of your gross income of your paycheck and it grows tax-free. So no taxes on the contribution and no taxes on the growth. But when do they get you? On the way out. Now raise your hand, right, if you think that taxes will be lower 20 years from now than they are today. So why are we mortgaging our future? We're putting the most output physically right now for the money that we want to experience later to potentially lose control of it and get much back less. Because what if taxes go up to 50%? And I have 100 grand on my 401k. And I need that 100 grand, well, I'm only getting back 50. Does that put a detriment now on my retirement plans? Yes, it does, right? So what we believe is, what if you do tax advantage? Well, what does that mean? Pay the taxes now. How do you do that? Through your net income. Does that make sense? Now you put it in an after-tax vehicle, like a Roth IRA, or what we do a lot through life insurance, and it grows tax-free, but it comes out 100% tax-free, and you don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half to pull money out, right? If more people knew that, what do you think most people would choose had they got this class? You see my point, right? It's just, it's common sense, it's just not common knowledge. And that's really what we want to teach here, right? These are, look at these, this is absolutely true, by the way. If you look at the federal marginal income tax rates from 1913 to 2012, this is how they got it. Imagine if we can go back to paying 7%. But look what happened in 1918. That was the federal income tax rate. What's the federal income tax rate right now?
28.
For the top income bracket, what is it? It's like 39.7, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Right? So we're paying the smallest share of taxes, you know, from a long time. But look at it. Why 77% of taxes in 1918? What happened in 1918 in World War I? Back then, it was your patriotic duty to give most of your paycheck to the government so they can build more tanks and bullets and airplanes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what would your advice be to, like, say, a 28 or 30-year-old kid that's been paying into their 401k since they were 21 because they started working at bonds or whatever? Like, but then they come and sit in this class, would they cash out the 401k and then bring that to you, or do you guys do something different?
It all depends. Now, the truth of that is this, are they matching you? Does your employer match you? Oh yeah, they match me up to 4%. So if I put 4% and give me 4%, then you should get that 401k, because that's free money. But I do question, someone's like, well, they're matching me at 4%, but I'm putting in 15. Don't put in 15. All right, just put it to that 4. Well, what should I do with that difference? Put it in a tax advantage strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's free money, okay? But just know, you're still gonna pay tax on it, but it's free money. It's money that wasn't yours to begin with,
Mhm.
right? So I'd rather pay tax on someone else's money than just my own. Make sense?
Yeah.
Why does the employer do that? Because that's a tax deduction to the employer, right? So, we'll go more into that stuff. It was pretty.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So, if you look at every year before World War, look at 1944, 94% was the federal income tax bracket. Why? World War II. We were fighting the Japanese and the Germans. You know? 1968, what war was that? Vietnam, right? And so this is kind of where we're at, right? Now we went to 39.6, dropped down to 35, now we're back around 39.6. Okay, now
We
we
should be at around the 20s now with the new tax reform. the paying
Yeah, there's
taxes.
so the truth of that, we learned this from Professor Hampton, who was coaching us. It really did benefit people that had a lot of money,
Mhm.
right? 20% was to benefit corporations.
Mhm.
Corporate taxes dropped significantly, which I'll be honest, is a good thing for business, okay? But not a good thing for the common person, right? The common W-2 employee does not have that benefit. Right, you know, we're 1099, right? You know, so for many people, they're like, well, I'm making, you know, if you're making $100,000 in San Diego, California, you're just broker at a higher tax bracket. Right? That's it, you know, and so it does benefit, so we still have to learn ways to play with the game. We want to give people the options, okay? So we give people fixed low rate, these are the 3 options you have. No, we don't do this, this is what society offers. Fixed low rate of return, that's banks. So what options do clients have? This is all that, if you look at it simply, this is it. You can go to your bank and open a CD or a money market or an IRA, but typically people are like, I don't want to lose anything. The problem with that is what happens is that you get a fixed low rate of return. Does that make sense? Is that if the cost of living is growing to close to 4% inflation, but my CD is only paying me 1% because I have security, am I still losing money? The answer is yes, right? Is my money is losing buying power. Right? Now what does the bank do with that money? They just flip it and put it into more loans and credit cards at a higher interest rate. That's all that they're doing. So we know that doesn't work. Now what is the downside of this? Is that I can make money if the stock market goes up, but I could also lose money if the stock market crashes. So we do index strategies here, okay? And so this is why you get a license here. What you're offering is, we help people make money if the market goes up, but if the market should crash, we lock in their money. All right?
Lock in what?
Lock in the gain and lock in the interest, right? So I'll show you, okay? Let me skip this, I'll go back to this, right? This is what we do. So we do what we call index strategies, right? We do this through a life insurance vehicle called Index Universal Life. Why life insurance? Because of the tax codes, right? 7702 of the tax code and sections 101 of the tax code, right? This has been a loophole for wealthy people for a long time. If you make a certain amount of money, you don't get a Roth IRA. This is the truth. Will there always be a tax loophole for wealthy people? Yeah, of course. Right? And it's been life insurance. Because there's no limit to what you can put in. So we work with 30 companies out there, very wealthy companies who always focus on the top 2% of our society. All we said is, let's take those top 2% and let's focus on middle class. So let's bring Wall Street to Main Street. And let's give them the same opportunities. They don't have $200,000 to invest, but they can start at $200 a month. But what's the benefit of that is, in the index strategy, if the market, you have a cap right now at 11.75%. So it's about almost close to 12. Make sense? So if the market is 26, you're not going to get 26. Which could be seen as a con for someone that wants that. Well, I want the 26%. I want you to have 26% too, but you're only going to get close to 12. 1999, 1953, you get the cap. However, 2000, 2002, negative 10, negative 13, negative 23, you simply get a 0. Right? And so for middle class America, we have benefited by saying you get the benefits of the bank with the benefits of the stock market in a certain range. That's really valuable, guys, right? This is what we do every single day for business owners, for individuals, for families. We package this with many different types of products, whether it's for teachers, whether it's for a business owner, whether it's for an individual, but they all in a nutshell do the same thing. Okay? So indexing is our forte here. It's what we do. Is this valuable? Right? Look at what the market did in 2008. Our clients lose a 0. You know, and so this is revolutionary new. When did this come out, indexing? About late 90s. It didn't start becoming a thing because the market was really good. Right? It started really growing big after the 2008 market crash, when people lost a lot.
Good question. So what is it? Is it like a retirement type fund where you put money into it and you can't take it out until you retire? Or is it more of an investment, a general type investment?
Great question. It's both. So it is an investment that is tied to the S&P 500 index.
Okay.
Right? So Standard & Poor's 500, which are the top 500 companies that trade on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay? And that's, so number one, it is an investment tied to the market. Okay, number two, right, it is a retirement plan. So we don't do short-term investments here like stocks and mutual funds, right? Not like index funds. We do things that are tied to long-term. We do it all through a life insurance license only. So we don't do investment licenses here like a Series 6 or a Series 7, right? Well, how is that so, right? Because with indexing, your money is tied to the market, but it's not in the market. Right? How does that work? That's a whole other class, right? And how it works is actually through something called the options market, right? So if you've heard of options before, right? Like call options and put options, it's a whole different type. Basically, options are insurance for your money. That's all options are. So what insurance companies have done is bought options on our clients' money so that they can earn a certain amount of money and the market goes up and never lose a dime and the market crashes. So right now for a baby boomer, that's very valuable. Because a baby boomer right now is like, Carlo, I got $500,000 in my 401k. They're not thinking about what's my performance going to be 10 years from now when I'm 75. I don't care about 75, Carlo. I need to start taking this money out now, right? And how long is it going to last me? So the financial service industry has always sold performance. But when you're about to use money, you don't care about performance, you care about distribution. Does that make sense? How do I pull this money out? How long is it going to last me? What happens if the market crashes? What happens if I die? Who gets it? Those are the questions that 100 million people are asking right now. Right? And there's 10,000 boomers turning 65 every day right now.
Jeez.
Every day right now. And they don't care about their Edward Jones accounts anymore. They care about, I've reached the finish line. How do I pull it out now? That's where we come in. All right? That's where we come in. But we also want to give people accumulation as well. Make sense?
So look at the 5-year average at the bottom.
Just saw that. So this is the traditional market. This is the actual S&P, 13%. Right? This is what we've done, 8.79. Okay? Not bad. Right? Is that better than 0.2% in the savings account? Absolutely, right? This is what you get to offer people, right? These are actual stats. This is good, right? And so when it comes down to that, look, this is a life insurance product that is tied, right, to the S&P 500. But why we're doing this because, remember I told you, tax advantages, right? So the benefit of this is that when they pull this money out, it's going to be tax-free, okay? Principal protection, I could earn up to 11.75 with a floor of 0, never a negative year, and then lifetime income. So we run an illustration of about 6.85%, even though it's done 8.79. We want to be really, really as methodical and realistic as possible. So if somebody put $270,000 away, let's say over 30 years, what does that mean? We're looking at about $565,000. If they want to, they can do a lifetime income, turn this on as a pension, that they're going to get a guaranteed paycheck every year, every month, for the rest of their life. And if we do it right, it's 100% tax-free.
Once they retired.
Yep,
Yes.
tax-free.
Does that make
Great
sense?
for someone who's 18 and wants to start a savings account.
So
retirement.
if someone put 270,000 over 30 years, and in the first 10 years, they already pulled out 100,000 more, but it's all tax-free. Now, let's say they die at 84, right? They pull out 740,000, but they still pass on $350,000 in a death benefit to their beneficiaries, 100% tax-free. I think that's pretty valuable. I really do, you know? And it also has living benefits, right? So, living benefits means, right, it's life insurance, they don't have to die to use it. So how good would it be is, who knows someone that's ever had cancer, heart attack, stroke, right? Well, if people have a policy, they have to die to use those monies. Now they don't have to die to use it. So if they ever had a terminal illness, let's say at 65, you can take out $732,000 of this money tax-free to use for whatever reason, even while you're still living. If you're at a chronic illness, biggest one is cancer, this shows that the amount of money that he can take for 50 months, for whatever reason he wants, right? It's pretty powerful. A critical illness or critical injury is heart attack, stroke, or like a traumatic brain injury from, say, a really bad car accident. And let's say it's a severe stroke and he's 60 years old, you can take out $627,000. So you'd be amazed at how much medical debt gets people in trouble because of an illness that wasn't expected, but bills still need to be paid. You know, so those living benefits are huge. So those are the 3 steps approach. So what we do, right, is if somebody dies too soon, that's what we do with life insurance. If somebody gets sick while they're in the accumulation years of their life and they can't work, they can pull money out tax-free. Those were those living benefits I just showed you. But if I don't die and I don't get sick, shouldn't I get my money back?
Yes.
That's not $37,000 a year tax-free for life.
And it's all because they're paying their taxes up front versus at the end.
This guy started with $500 a month.
So what if I want to do an early withdrawal, so prior to retirement? Do we have that option? Is
You
there a
do.
penalty?
You do. You can be a penalty depending on how you pull it out, right? Because there is some capital gains that could happen, but if we do it and you plan it right, you're gonna do it 100% tax-free. So I have to show you that kind of a customized one, right? But you don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half, okay, to answer your question, Thor.
What's the retirement age right now?
65. So going to this, now we also do rollovers, right? Rollovers are a big part of what we do because when people retire, they have 401ks and IRAs. That's traditionally what most people have. What is the average right now that you think most middle-class people have in their 401ks and IRAs? 50 to 100,000.
Yeah.
That's very typical. How far does that get you these days?
A year.
Not to the promised land.
6 months.
For most of your retired clients, what their biggest retirement income is going to be their Social Security, which in this city is about $1,200 a month. Okay, how far does that get you? All right, this is why you're starting to see more people. It'll become more of an epidemic between 2020 and 30, the retirement crisis, because people don't have enough. Right now in Northern California, guys, San Jose, San Francisco, rents are crazy. To rent right now in San Jose, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, you're paying about $500 a month.
Mhm.
Sometimes even more depending on the area. Is that going to happen here? Probably so. It's going to happen. The cost of living is just going to continue to do this. Why? Because of inflation. It's just a matter of time. So, like Mexico, the middle class is being quietly disseminated. And we're becoming a country of haves and have-nots. There is no have-some. The middle class is very important to society because it represents the bridge. That's what makes America so great, because when you have a strong middle class, that means I can start here with nothing and cross the bridge into wherever I want to be, right? Once that middle class is cut off and you have a few, haves and a ton of have-nots, people become easily exploited, easily, because only few have the control. Who's ever heard of the golden rule? All right, I was like, well, treat other people like you want to be treated. It was one way. But when you look at it politically, the golden rule was he who has the gold makes the rules. Right? That's what the truth is. So entrepreneurship is you subject yourself from that power, right? Is you take the power yourself. Being an entrepreneur is creating your own ecosystem. right? It's like, I understand how capitalism works, and you can go and create it. It's very counterculture, very, right? But most people are becoming entrepreneurs out of necessity, not so much out of desire anymore. Why? Because I did everything they told me to do, Carlo. I got the degrees. I got the job in corporate America at a good company. Then why do you want to leave? Because I'm still not free. I'm still in debt. I'm still struggling. You see my point? Right? And so this is it. Now, the solution, though, to be an entrepreneur is what solutions you give. So this is a $350,000 rollover of a 401k. Okay? Now, why did he roll it over? Because I don't want to lose a dime of this money. Right? Principal protection, remember? Right? So the tax advantage, so we said, let's roll over. This used to be a 401k that we rolled over into an IRA index annuity, which is, worst case scenario, he's not going to earn anything because the market say did negative years. So it's still going to be $350,000. Now there's this roll-up rate that's guaranteed for 10 years, that's 3%, and then contraction never to go below 1. So we say, look, just what I can tell you right now, come hell or high water, this is what you're going to get. Right? Now if the market does better, great. I just want to do the guarantees. This is the guarantees I flat out right now. So if you're 51 by 65, you're still gonna have 350,000. However, you see this 489? Yeah, is that my money? Nope, this is your money. Then what's that? This is to guarantee you an income stream. So you're gonna get about 5.5% of this number, which is gonna give you $26,921 every year for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. So we're gonna turn your 401k into a pension.
Wow.
So what happens, so as I start pulling that money out, it actually comes out of my actual account. But I end up running out of money at age 77. Now, who thinks that most people are going to live longer than what they think?
Yeah. And
Yes.
Healthcare.
Right? And so that's what people want. They want security, because even when the money runs out at age 77, I'm still going to get that money every year for the rest of my life.
So where does that money come from when your account's dry?
Why do people have pensions? Where does that money come from? Anytime you retire from a company and they allow you to put your money into a pension, that's called an annuity. Who controls annuities? Insurance companies do. This is what insurance companies have been doing for eons. Anytime someone says, I work with a company with a pension, it's because they have an annuity with that company. A pension is just another word for annuity. The lottery, which is, I don't know who won the lottery yesterday, right?
Nobody.
But it's crazy, the psychology, right? And I went to 7-Eleven because I had to pick up something for my wife's like, oh, can you go to 7-Eleven and pick this up? And I went there and it was like crazy. There was a line like 4 stores down. I was like, what is going on here? There are people bickering. And I was like, oh, the lottery, right? Whenever you find yourself inside the majority, it's time to pause and reflect, right? These guys were fighting at the register because somebody paid $100 a lottery ticket, so I was punching them all in, taking everybody's time, right?
And he lost. And he lost.
For the 650 million or whatever it was, right?
900 million.
900 million.
No one won. It's 1.6 now.
Again, microwave mentality, right?
That's incredible.
So, you see what I'm saying?
So that money after the account's been tapped is coming from the insurance companies now?
Yep. Guaranteed. Based on the contract from a very reputable, these ain't mom and pop shop, these are billion-dollar companies.
That's
All
wild.
right? So does that benefit society? Absolutely. So remember what I told you, 3 things. Tax advantages, principal protection, guaranteed lifetime income. That is what we do here in every way, shape, or form. For business owners, for teachers, for individuals. Does that have a place in society? I don't say that we're the end-all, be-all. So Carl, you're telling me you stop all my investments in the stock market and put them all here? Didn't say that. What I do believe you should do, Aaron, is do something that's going to give you a guaranteed income stream for life. So maybe you have $2 million. How much money do you need per month? I need about $6,000 or $10,000. Let's just roll over the portion that's going to give you the guaranteed $10,000 for the rest of your life. And you can go let it ride with the rest of the stuff, but that's no guarantee, just so you know. Never risk more than you're willing to lose. I offer you guarantees.
Because in the stock market, if your money's tied up there, or if that's what you're playing, if the economy crashes, you lose, right? That's wild.
Yeah, buddy. And you think the market's going to crash again?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, right? People have more to lose, and they don't want to lose. So when you give people peace of mind with security and guarantees, they're going to like that. You know? So, I got a few more things. I want to create a quick 2-minute break. I know you guys got to go, right? Did you get value from this?
Oh yeah, man.
Right, so
I'm
you're
gonna bring
gonna
my
have
whole family,
It's gonna bring
Alright.
soul down.
all 110 of us.
It's really good.
So you see what we offer now, right? You know, and so you're gonna have more questions, and for you, this is what we thought. Like, don't quit what you're doing. Just supplement it with more
Yeah.
value, right? When you can tell the business owners, like, look, I can save you more on taxes, and well, where am I gonna put that money at? Is let's get you a pension so you don't lose any money. But what if I lose it at the market rate? You don't lose it, right? Don't worry about that.
Good touch.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, all right, let's go 2-minute break. So I wanted to share a few things with you guys.
All right.
So I want you guys to know, obviously, the 3 types of coverage that we do here, right? When it comes, you're gonna do term, whole life, and universal, okay? Now, there's only 2 types of insurance. There's term, and then there's permanent, right? You get, what's the difference just based on those names?
Term is limited, doesn't last forever.
Yeah, term is exactly what it means, for a certain term. And well, how much term, right? It's temporary. It's 10, 15, 20, or 30-year terms, depending on their age and their health. You're renting insurance, basically. So it's like the equivalent of renting a house versus owning it. When you're renting, you're paying the mortgage for somebody else. Okay, or if someone else has paid off, you're paying them cash. There's no cash value, right? So when you own a house, when you go from renting to owning, you're gonna pay more. Because now you're responsible for the taxes and insurance. Same thing when you do a permanent plan. But why do we offer term? When should you offer term to somebody?
When someone has a mortgage like 500,000.
Yeah, but what's the biggest reason though? But yeah, that's one of them. The biggest reason you're ever gonna offer term is why we think everybody should at least have a term policy,
For their
is
family.
because it's inexpensive. I can give someone a term policy between 20, 30, 40 bucks. So be covered, right? That's why everyone can be your client. Because you, not only do you give them a term, but you give them a term with living benefits. And you can convert that term, right, into a permanent plan. So I'm gonna go back to this slide, I'm gonna give you guys an example.
Would they still have the same $100,000 coverage if they turn it over to a term?
No, okay, so I didn't illustrate that, but here's a 35-year-old male, non-smoker, for 48 bucks gets 500,000 and still has the living benefits. So it builds no cash value, it's just the cost of insurance. But for 20 years, right, it's locked in. Does that make sense? So you might have a 35-year-old client says, you know what, I'm married, I have a family, like, man, I really want an IUL, but what's an IUL makes sense for me? Oh, you're gonna about $200 to $300 bucks. I can't afford that. Right? I'm kind of just getting on my feet. I'm in between jobs. Or well, you do need the coverage, man, because you're married. You're the breadwinner. So why don't we start a term policy for 48 bucks? And once you lock in at that rate, right? So if there's 20 years, right? Write this down. So I'll show you our term conversions, okay? So if they have a 20-year term, they can convert it up to 15 years to a permanent plan.
What does that mean?
What that means is I can convert my term into an IUL. So another analogy would be is like you're renting your apartment and you've been paying the same payment, and in 15 years you can convert it to ownership now. Now you own the house. Now you're paying the mortgage on it.
So do you have the money that you invested?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Okay. You don't. There's no cash value. Okay.
Okay.
I wish, right?
Yeah.
But it don't work that way. But what's the benefit of doing that? Because when I convert it, I have up to 15 years, I don't have to provide insurability. So let's say I got the 20 term, I'm healthy right now, but 10 years into this, I got diabetes, right? Or I'm a cancer survivor, I didn't die, but I still have that policy. But man, like, no one's gonna insure, when this is over at 20 years, no one's gonna insure me again. Well, convert it to a permanent plan, but are they gonna insure me? Absolutely. You're guaranteed to convert to a permanent plan with no insurability.
Same coverage.
You can't just extend it to another term life or no?
No.
No, it has to be converted.
You can, but you're gonna now have to
Go through that.
re-qualify, right?
Mhm.
They're gonna have to check your blood, urine, right? And your premiums will skyrocket.
Mhm.
But I can convert it to permanent. So does it have to be 500,000? No, I can convert it to a $250,000 IUL from a $500,000 term. I can't get any more unless I requalify, but I can get the equal amount or less in permanent coverage, up to 15 years. Pretty cool?
Mhm.
Right? So this case is huge, right? And so if someone, you can get a 10-year term, 15-year, 20-year, or 30-year. And they're very, very affordable, right? So when someone says, look, I can't do the IULs, I do, just get covered, at least get something. And I'm big on that. But it's the cheapest, but check this out. Only 2 to 3% actually ever pay out. This is why insurance companies make a lot of money, guys.
Why?
Because think about it, if you have, 500,000 clients that have term policies and they're all paying $50 and $100 a month, they only have to pay 2 to 3% of that out. Because the chances of you dying in that 20 or 30-year term are very minimal.
Wow.
And you don't get that money back. It's kind of like car insurance,
Mm.
right? You pay your car, the reason most people pay car insurance, right, is because it's law.
Yeah.
I promise you that if it wasn't law, people would be like, I ain't getting that.
Yeah.
And is it better not to file your claim when you do get in a small crash, when you have insurance, because you're
Yeah.
gonna shoot your payment up?
Yeah. So, but does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, big thing I want you to get is that you can convert it. Now, we do whole life, very rarely, but we do. Now, whole life is a permanent, right? It's the most oldest type of life insurance there is in the permanent category. Okay? It's a fixed premium. Okay? The death benefit doesn't change, right? You get a fixed premium. The cash value, right? It's like buying a house, right? Because when you buy a house, you're paying the taxes and insurance on top of the mortgage payment. But what did we get in a house? If I bought a house for $200,000, I'm hoping that when I pay it off, it's going to be worth $600,000.
Mm.
So that $400,000 of equity, right? So that's what it is here. Now, that cash value account in a whole life is a fixed interest rate. Okay, so you got to understand that, right? So in insurance, you have, in permanent, you have cost of insurance, and then you have the cash value accounts. Okay? So the cost of insurance, so let's say if someone's like, well, Carl, I'm putting, $500 away into a $500,000 whole life policy, right? Well, maybe out of that, let's just say $250, depending on how you are qualified. If you're in average health, maybe $200 to $250 that is going to pay for that policy, and the rest of that money is going towards the cash value account. And in a whole life, you're looking right now, you're looking at a fixed 5% interest rate. So if the market goes up, you're going to get 5%, but if the market crashes, you're going to get 5%. Does that make sense? It doesn't change, right?
That's whole life.
Whole life, right? It's whole life. It's fixed. So some people like that. Some people are like, well, I like something that never changes, because an index, I can earn up to 11.75%, which I would like that, but if the market does negative, I'm going to get 0 that year. Well, 5% is better than 0, right? So it's a fixed amount. But the biggest thing is that it's also the most expensive, and you got to pay for your whole life. That's why it's called whole life, right? There's no flexibility. You're fixed on those premium payments, right? So if you're paying $500, you're going to pay $500 a month. Okay? We do universal, which is what's our flagship product?
Universal life index.
Yeah. What does the index mean?
That it stays, it doesn't ever go down.
There you go. So index means it's tied to what?
S&P
There you
500.
go, Carol, right? S&P 500 index, right? Which is, what is the S&P 500 index? The top 500 companies that trade on the stock market. Hence the name indexed, universal. Universal, right? This is the primary difference between whole life and universal. So look at the death benefit in universal. As the cash value goes up, so does your death benefit go up, right? You're limited here because it doesn't go up in a whole life,
Mm.
right? So that's the whole point in the whole life, is to put as much cash, because at some point, I'm not gonna be paying premiums when I'm 80 in the whole life, because I'm not working anymore. So I'm gonna pay that cash value, and then when I stop working at 65 or 70, that cash value is gonna fund my policy for me, the premium payments. But on IUL, as I can start off with a low amount, and as my cash value grows, the corridor or the death benefit also goes up, right? So it's flexible, it's changeable, hence the name universal. What does universal mean, right? It means it's very flexible. Okay, so I want you guys to, we're breaking down indexed, universal, it's life insurance, right? Again, like buying a house, you pay for 20, 25 years, cash value grows 2 to 9%, moderate cost. It's very flexible in the way that we can put a premium together, which is why our number one flagship product is IUL. So you're gonna get, you'll get different agents out there from different companies like a Mass Mutual, Northwestern Mutual, New York Life. They do not offer index products. They will badmouth your index product, right? Why? Because I have to, because all I do is whole life, right? So I need to win here, right? But those companies do a really good job at training products, right? So companies like ours in the past do a really good job at training people how to recruit. And we need to do, right, we still need to learn how to build an agency, but more importantly, you need to know your products, right? And I want you to be able to go toe-to-toe with a solid New York Life agent and be like, dude, right? Because I can close a client and says, well, what your New York Life agent's gonna offer you is that 5% fixed, right? Well, I like that. Okay, well, I can offer you that too, but except mine has living benefits. I just closed the whole life, baby. Right? See my point? So I don't have to be like, no, don't do whole life, do IUL. Well, no, I like the whole life. Okay. Do they offer you living benefits? No, they don't. What if I can give you a whole life the same that the New York Life agent is offering you, but I'm going to give you living benefits as well? I say you got a deal, my friend. Right?
Can you break the IUL down like that? Like
Same thing.
That's what I was wondering. Like, how much of the $500 a month that they're putting into it does it turn into a cash value? How much
It's
does it cost?
typically, right, so great question. It's typically, you're looking at a standard non-tobacco, like someone in average health, right? You're looking at almost 40-60, sometimes even 50-50. It's pricey, man, right? So what you're paying for is long-term. Insurance, so out of say it's 500, you're looking at 200 to 250 going towards cost, right? And the rest is going towards cash value.
Yeah.
Okay? But I'm only going to do that if their intention is to raise more contribution later, because once that cost is set, my cost is not going to go above that, right?
Wait, say that again?
So once my cost is set, so if I'm paying $250 for cost, right, out of my 500, I know only half of my money is going towards that cash value account,
Yeah.
right? Now, maybe they need the coverage, maybe they don't. I can also do minimum death benefit to give them the most amount of cash, right? But then that becomes their ceiling. Now, if this sounds like Chinese, we'll go through more scenarios.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's all about, I guess my point is all about structure,
Yeah.
okay? Go ahead.
And the client that you're helping.
And the claim. But typically I give people wiggle room to put in more. Because the whole point of an IUL is if someone's like, Carl, I'm only gonna do $200 a month, then I'm gonna put you at a level premium versus increasing. But I always have to tell that client, $100 or $200, that gets you started, it don't take you to the promised land, right? You're gonna have to increase your contribution. You wanna get, here's the goal. You wanna get a client, especially younger, 25 to age 40, you wanna get them to put at least $250,000 away in their accumulation years of their life.
How much would that be a month, and how much would that be? How many years? Is that?
You're looking, that's gonna be, well, depending, break that down. So if you got, let's just say someone that's 35, mid-range there, and they wanna retire in 30 years. What's $250,000 divided by 30 years? Do that on your phone.
$7,142,
Right, per year?
which
What's
is very good.
What's 7142 divided by 12?
$595. In reality, you have to put away 10% of your income for
Mhm.
retirement. So you're making, which average should be making $5,000.
Let me tell you something that's going to happen that's going to benefit us. especially Generation Xers like mine and then millennials. Because once they see that their parents can't retire, they're like, oh my God, like my dad worked his ass off and he can't retire. Oh shit, we need to do something, babe. Right? I do not want to end up like that. Right? Because they didn't save money. Right? They're going to become fanatical towards you and be like, okay, I saw the ramifications of not doing this. What do we have to do so that we don't end up like that? Well, you got to put away money, man. Yeah, because look, Social Security's gone, or the government's falling apart. Right? What can I count on for me and my family to make sure that we have security and a check and stability? Right? They're going to come for that. This is why our value is going to grow position-wise, because you're dealing with something that's guaranteed. And at the end of the day, that's what people want. Like, look, I get speculation and I want to make money in the market, but at the end of the day, I need to know what could I count on, man. Like, don't bullshit me, man. Like, is this something that's going to be for real for me? Because I need to know that it's going to be there. I don't want to speculate, like, hopefully, if the market does what it's done, it should be this. Well, I don't want to deal with that. And that's what you'll be able to do for teachers, because when I go to a teacher and it's like, well, I have Foresters or I have this company or AXA, I'm like, have you lost money in your 403B? Yeah. How old are you? 58. It's a risk, right? What if we roll that money into an index, right? 403B, well, what's the benefit of that? The market goes up, you make money, but the market crashes, you don't lose anything, you're going to get a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of your life. I like that. That gives me peace of mind, right? All day.
Is indexing only through life insurance?
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't index without life insurance?
Well, you could, but yeah, it's only done through life insurance companies, which is obviously you have to have a life insurance license, which is why a traditional financial advisor will probably knock it, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the thing about our industry that you're learning, is that financial advisors do not sit in classes like this to say, look, let me tell you guys what insurance agents are doing out there, right? We do, because they are the majority and they have been around, that way of thinking has been around for eons. So you must learn how they think, even though they don't know how you think. So we have an unfair advantage where, like, I know your game and I know mine, but you don't know mine, right?
So what if a financial advisor says, all right, you're about to put $500 in an IUL. What if you just did a term policy at $50 a month? You're still going to get the benefit of if you die, and then the $450 we throw that in
Stocks and mutual funds?
or like if they can't do an index,
No.
like, or the safest, the most moderate.
They can.
Yeah.
So let me go back to that. So check this out. This is how I deal with Primerica. Say, look, this is what Primerica does. Primerica would do exactly that.
Yeah.
Primerica would say, okay, look, how much coverage are you getting in your $250 IUL investment? I have $250,000 coverage, and I'm going to have a tax-free retirement. Okay, let me tell you what I can do for you, Anthony. With that $250 that you're paying for your $250 coverage, I can give you 3 times more coverage in a 20 to 30-year term policy. Oh, that's awesome. And that's only going to be half of what you're paying now. And the rest of the money, I'm going to put it here in mutual funds, right, or stocks, either in an IRA or mutual funds, right? And you're going to earn anywhere between 12%, if not more. Okay. So what's the benefit of that is now someone has more coverage, but what's the downside of a term?
Selling term.
Exactly. See, you don't talk about that because that doesn't serve my purpose.
Yeah.
So I can make anything look better than what it is, right? My point is, does it fit that person? I'm not against buy term and invest the difference, right? But it doesn't give me a guarantee at all. So that's what I deal with the client. I said, look, I don't talk smack. Don't ever talk smack about another company. It just makes you look bad. Let your product speak for itself. I was like, look, I get the, if you want speculation, then go do that. But if you want guarantees, then look with me because I deal with guarantees. Right? That's all I'm saying. And most people, they're like, I want it for sure.
Yeah.
I want to know that I am going to be able to retire, not that I hope I can. Right? Do you know what the market will be in 2038? No. Nobody does.
Most people can't afford, with the clients that we're dealing with, they can't afford outside of the.
No, they can't. But do I never knock, investing? No, I don't. But I just think we deal with guarantees, right? So that's our play, that's our role, right? Tax advantages, right? Principal protection and guaranteed lifetime income. That's really what we're offering now. Does that make sense? Great question though. So now you kind of get the differences between between these now. This is a cool slide in understanding the 4 phases of retirement, right? Write this down because this is cool. You have the contribution phase, okay, which is, what is the contribution phase? You're working, right? I'm working, I'm being paid by the hour, I'm grinding, and I take a little bit of my money and I put it away for the long term, okay? That's the contribution phase. Now, when you look at IUL compared to most other investments, let's look at a 401k or IRA, right? Is the contribution phase tax favored in a 401k and IRA? Why?
Because you're not paying taxes right there.
You see what I'm saying? So what are the benefits of an IRA? So if I'm making $100,000 a year and I max fund my 401k, I'm not paying taxes on $100,000 a year. I'm only paying taxes on $78,000 a year because I max funded it, right? So my taxes go down, so it's tax favored. If I did an IRA, what does IRA stand for?
Individual retirement account.
There you go, right? Individual retirement account. I'm putting after-tax dollars from my paycheck, from my checking account, but I get to deduct those taxes. So what is the max you can do if you're under 50? $5,500 a year. So if I'm making $50,000 a year, I get to deduct that $5,500 and only pay taxes on $44,500 to the IRS. So it's tax favored. Now, is it tax favored in the IUL? No. Why? Because I'm contributing after-tax dollars that I don't get a tax write-off on. Make sense? Now, in the accumulation phase, IRAs, 401ks, do they grow tax deferred? Yes, they do. So there's no taxes on the growth. In the IUL, it also grows tax deferred, so no taxes on the growth. Now, on the withdrawal, this is where we're in, right? The distribution phase. At what age do I have to be to pull money out of my IRA 401k?
55.
59 and a half. Right? Really important for you to know that, right? 59 and a half. Because people ask you that, when can I pull my money out? A lot of people that have IRAs and 401ks don't even know that. Right? 59 and a half. Now, am I paying taxes? Yes. At what rate? They're going to ask you. Shit, your guess is as good as mine, man. How many years do you plan on retiring from now? 15? 20? 30? Who knows? That's about 10 presidents from now, right? But here, I can tell you right now, in IUL, it's tax advantage, tax-free, right? The transfer, if I transfer my 401k or IRA to, say, my children, do they have to pay taxes on it? Yes, they do. Right? If I transfer it to a spouse, a 401k IRA, do I have to pay taxes on it? I don't think you do, no. No, you don't. I think to spousal transfers are non-taxed, right? I believe.
Unless they're not resident, they're not US citizen.
Oh, see, I didn't know that, right?
Something like that.
Okay, but if you give it to kids, they have to pay tax. Now, transfer on death, right, in an IUL, always 100% tax-free. Why? Because it's life insurance. That's the benefit of life insurance. Does that make sense? So does it make sense to defer taxes and possibly pay more later? No. So this is what we do, right? So these are the 4 pillars, right, of IUL. Safety and liquidity. The safety is we have a floor of what? 0, right? What does liquidity mean?
Can take it out easily.
There you go, accessibility. So you can access money in a short amount of time, even after a couple of years, right? That's huge. Tax-free growth, tax-free distribution, that's another strong pillar. Participation market gains but not losses. Automatic system of locking in the previous year gains. So if I had 100,000 that earned 10%, right? I now have 110,000. If the next year the market is negative, I'm earning 0% on 110,000. Does that make sense? So you lock in those gains. And these are the tax codes that tell you that it's possible. Okay? And what happens when we can't offer a client life insurance, right? Because they're too old, because it's too pricey. Final expense. Right? So you got, Isaac did a final expense policy for a 70-year-old. Right? This is for a 68-year-old. Like, well, it's too costly, even a term policy. No insurance company is going to give a 60-year-old 20 years. Maybe a 10, maybe even 15. But they're going to pay for it. Right? And they're going to pay a lot. But if it's too pricey, this is for a 60-year-old non-smoker, right? We have access to these companies. Let's just say at $15,000. So what does final expense mean?
Just the life insurance that you're going to get before you die?
It's basically just to cover my final expenses, which is my burial fees. Alright, I just don't wanna be a burden to my family. Look, I would love to have $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 of life insurance. And I've become more of a believer in life insurance only because of dealing with older clients who always tell me I should have did this when I was younger. Right? Because I can't get it now because I'm diabetic now, or I'm overweight now, or I can't be insured, but now I really need it. See, when you're younger, this is a psychology, we think we're gonna live forever. Right? People that are this age, they're very conscious of their mortality. They're like, you know what, I know that I wanna leave something behind. Right? And that's why permanent insurance has a place, because if a permanent insurance policy, the reason you get it, because you know at someday you're gonna die. And at someday I do wanna leave something. Now, if I don't die, I can get some of that money back, but I still leave something. A term policy only covers me during my working years or my mortgage or whatever. Make sense? This is what somebody would pay in those kinds of policies. That's affordable for people. So think of people that are uninsurable, that are older. So you can say, man, I couldn't cover this, my grandma or someone so's older, you know, because they were 68, 70. Yes, you can. Right? Can you do IULs for children? Yes, you can. Right? How soon can you start an IUL for a child? 2 weeks old. Right? So there's virtually, you can help everybody, guys. Right? You can help everybody. So we'll do more plans, like what's the difference between a 5-cent plan and IUL is really good. Once I've been doing this now a few years. You know, it works really well. So, questions. So this is going to be our ABC class. I think, you know, this is more of I do want to add more of our product lines, like a 403B and things like that. But they're all going to be index annuities. Same. So I want you to understand, it's all that we are an index annuity and index universal life company.
Okay.
Everything else pivots around that foundation. Right? Because it's virtually, you can help a lot of people with that. Well, was this valuable? Good. What did you guys get from today?
It was good seeing it again. Repetition. So what I'm going to be presenting as well.
Yeah. So I want you to know, yeah, it's good. You know, like I said, I want to get away from always like giving you guys new information. The new information you're going to get is mostly going to be on mindset, right? And maybe on different, but it's always going to be on these product lines because how are they interchangeable with certain case scenarios, right? Doing more case studies that we have to do, right? Like one right now, I'm working on, what would you guys do? Check this out. I'll let you guys go after this. This is a client that I'm working on in Yuma, Arizona. So keep in mind, this is his account right now in his IRA. It's $43,000, okay, in an IRA in the stock market that he's lost money in. And this is his management fee per quarter, $500 a quarter, right? Which is how much per year? $2,000 for his advisor to manage that $43,000.
Wow.
Okay? He is 60 years old, okay? 60, and he wants to retire by 67. And that's his retirement right now. He's a business owner, right? He's a physical therapist who makes close to this per year.
And he only has that?
Yes. And here's why. He's terrible with his money, and he still has $113,000 in student loan debt.
That's 200 or 7?
200,000.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
How many kids does he have?
His kids are all grown.
Oh,
He's trying to
he's
control
older
him.
now.
Right? But he makes good money, right? And you always Carlo, I'm terrible. Business owners are terrible with their money. I want you to know that, right?
Yeah.
Habits. He needs to change his habits.
Yeah, right? So what could we do for him based on what we do?
Roll it over to index annuity and have him start putting a lot more money in each month.
So he has an S corp. Check this out, guys, right? So based on our bag of tricks, what could we do for him?
What's an S corp?
It's a business. He has his own corporation, right?
Are you gonna be able to do what's it called, for 12 sorry, got the name, but the plan for business owners?
412E3,
Yeah. Or it's not enough money like.
Not enough
this?
money. right?
Okay.
If you made a lot of money, you can deduct up to 350,000, but
Mm-hmm.
he's only making about 200K.
Okay.
But you're on that wavelength,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what do we do for business owners? What's a plan? What's a type of IRA plan for a business owner?
No, the Sapphire.
What did you say?
The Sapphire?
SEP-IRA, what does SEP stand for? Self-Employment Pension, IRA, right? Now, the benefit of a SEP-IRA in this case, okay, because another headache he's dealing with is taxes.
Oh,
Okay.
this poor guy.
Because he's a small business owner, right, making good income, right? You don't get so much write-offs, right, so he's paying a lot to Uncle Sam. I said, look, here's what we're gonna do, check this out. And I haven't even gone through his finances yet. This $500, we're going to add it to roll over his IRA into a SEP-IRA. And instead of him paying a money manager $2,000 a year, we're gonna put that $2,000 into your IRA. Okay, not only are we gonna do that, we're gonna move into a SEP-IRA status. Why would I do that? Because in a SEP-IRA, you can deduct up to 25% of your annual gross income. What is 25% of 200,000?
A lot.
50,000, how much can I put into a SEP-IRA? $55,000 per year.
Wow.
So he's gonna deduct all 50,000 from his taxes, and we're going to roll that over. So now the goal is to get him, because he's only gonna get $1,900 a month from Social Security. I was like, how much money do you need, Gabe? It's like, I need at least between 4,000 and 5,000. Okay, so you got 7 years, brother, to fund this bad boy, right? And if we do it right, you're gonna hit that goal, because we're gonna, I haven't even run the illustration yet, but I already know it. And I'm gonna show you guys that. I'm gonna put it into a SEP-IRA status. He's gonna get the tax break on that, and we're gonna turn on lifetime income at 67. That is more than gonna fulfill that goal of getting lifetime income. That's gonna hit his income goal for the rest of his life.
You're awesome, Carlo.
I have a question, because of his age, he cannot, it's not convenient for him to start putting some amount into some type of life insurance to be able to get those tax benefits when he retires, because that, all that is tax deferred.
Yeah, he's gonna have to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
He's not, great question. He's 60, so cost of insurance is high, and he's a diabetic.
Oh, never mind.
So I got him a term policy with National Group that I currently do right now to cover his mortgage, because he moved it from a 30 to 15-year mortgage, he still has 10 years left on $240,000. So I got him a $240,000 10-year term, but I'm trying to qualify because he's a diabetic right now. But you told me as long as it's
Yeah.
manageable, right? But the thing is, he doesn't have health insurance in the States, he goes to Mexico, right? So I'm like, damn, how am I gonna show that to the underwriter that it is manageable, but there's no health insurance here? So I just have to tell the underwriter, like, he goes to
Yeah.
Mexico because the cost is cheaper for his medicine.
Then they might do like a blood test or something.
Yeah.
They might for sure do that.
So we'll see, right? But, you know, it's gonna help him out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You see the point, right?
Yeah.
Guys, this is what we do. Right?
It's horrible.
So when they do they get like their physical assessment, and that really dictates their health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of what they can get covered.
Or.
If,
Yeah.
yeah, what National Life Group will do is, on the term series now, even on the permanent series, is they're gonna do something called easy underwriting, which is they're not gonna look, they'll run the social, and the social pops up to something called the MIB. So if I ran your social, so if you wanted to go apply for health insurance, they're not gonna do a blood and urine check on you, right? But they're going to run your social and say, oh, I see this guy, he's on these prescription medications. Oh, he was in the hospital last year for this reason. Okay, so there's transparency there, like, okay, I see that we're gonna be coughing up money for his care based on this, right? That's what Obamacare brought up, pre-existing conditions to be covered. You know, in the past, it wasn't that way. Now, life insurance falls under that same MIB access, Medical Information Bureau. So if I run your social, your prescription meds, because you'll have clients that tell you, you know what, I'm on nothing, I'm good, I'm healthy.
Yeah.
In their mind, they're like, I ain't gonna tell them shit, because I'm trying to get this to go through, right? And then once you put them up, then the underwriter the next day says, hey, can you get with Danny and tell us why he's on Xanax and he's on this medication and Zoloft and he he was hospitalized for a week last year for this reason, and I have to come to you and be like, can you tell me about this shit? Like, shit, how did they get that information?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, right? They're gonna get access to it. So if nothing pops up, I don't need to do a blood and urine. Based on what I see, I'm gonna do an overall assessment that you're in pretty good Haiti, up to $1 million, right? And so then they just issue the policy. They're still gonna do their underwriting. We still have to be transparent,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, now if they find something that the underwriter says, you know, something's here, I just don't, I can't tell what it is. Hey, agent, go to tenant, we wanna do a blood and urine exam. We just wanna see what's going on underneath the hood. Skeptical a little bit, right? Because you gotta know the company's on the hook for 250, 500, 750, whatever amount of money you're trying to insure the client for.
Yeah.
So they're making an investment into that client. You know, you're paying us $50 a month for a $500,000 policy. Well, what's to say that you don't pay us for 4 months and something happens to you because we didn't see it and we end up coughing up $500,000? The insurance company just lost a huge chunk of money. It was a bad investment on their end.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it like that. You know, but life insurance is it's an interesting game, man. But it's a beautiful game. It's a necessary game. You know, and so it does have a high functionality in the grand scheme of things. So, but is that helpful to see that? You know, what we can do. So always keep in mind is that you deal with guarantees and that you can help anybody. And what's more better than a guaranteed retirement plan? Right? Pretty much nothing. You know? But don't ever think that you have to compete and be like, well, are you saying I should stop my Edward Jones contributions and just deal with you? I didn't say that. Diversify, man.
Yeah.
You know? Have some guaranteed stuff with your not guaranteed stuff. Make sense? And you're gonna have more plans. So cool. Okay, any other questions? All right.